Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. 10 years is not an achievement. It's wrong to say that because 10 years of Manthan Award is a case to celebrate. Osama looks 10 years older now. The turban he wears is hiding his loss of hair. And I don't want to tell you all the other things he might have lost. But he has gained a lot. He has gained you as friends. He has gained you as partners. And he has gained you as part of a community, which is so important. When we hear Indira talk about UNESCO, and the very important work they are doing, he is not talking about the grief he has every morning going into his bureaucratic office, facing the financial crisis, the international divisiveness, and the lack of understanding of solidarity among nations. He's not telling you that. But he's counting on you that you understand that the work he does in Paris needs to be reconnected to where you are. And that this reconnection is actually something which Digital Empowerment Foundation and Manthan Award have been doing here in India and in the region. The whole program of an international movement, an international investigation into information society, has its justification not in technology. It's wrong to think that anybody here on the table, on this stage, or here in this audience has anything to do with this. When you look in your pockets and you pull out the devices, if you pay attention to me and you are not on Facebook now through your mobile devices, if you're pulling this out, I'm not the creator on it, neither is Intel. There's many other people. Technology is a wave of innovation, inventiveness of people from the time of the Industrial Revolution and much, much earlier on when when humanity decided that having tools can help us with the things which we cannot do with our limbs. When we have tools which can help us to do things which we cannot do just with our brains. When we have tools which we cannot do just by our own efforts. But the interesting thing about information technology is that it takes us over, and it is actually something which has shifted the landscape. And not just the landscape of this country, but it has shifted the landscape of culture itself. When you come to India, when I come to India, when you go to China, when you go and I travel around, these are cultures, your cultures, they are 5,000 years old and older. And we build on the rocks and the achievements of generations even before. But all of those generations, 10,000 years of cultural and social development, have been built on media which were not responsive, which could not interact. From the cave paintings to the tablets in clay, from the papyrus all the way to the printed book. You do not have what we have today. The people here on the stage, even Osama has his hand in his hands and his mobile phone, and he touches it, and the interaction takes place fluently. And we are just at the very beginning of this interactive age. This age where actually we are open and hyperlinked, where the internet has become a repository of knowledge, and where the over-the-top layers are actually creating communities in a new form. What is the interesting thing about Manthan Award, though? What is the interesting thing about the contribution which we have been making to a global initiative of the United Nations. And that is very, very unique. When the United Nations General Assembly in the year 2000 decided to go through this process of a World Summit on Information Society, the idea was that nobody on this earth should have to walk 3 days to get to the next telephone booth. The idea was to address the issue of access. The idea was to close the digital divide around access. The idea was to roll out the infrastructure and to create actually the ability of people to be connected. Thanks to companies like Intel and others, we are now today in a situation that the connectedness is not just between people but between machines, and that the connectedness actually has recharged our environment in a way that we are moving ahead. But what was the key issue which the World Summit Award tried to bring to governments and businesses and the civic society at that time in 2003? And that was that it is not enough just to have speeches and resolutions. It's not enough to have paragraphs and papers. Because what is it actually from what we can learn? And that is the example of people like yourself who do something interesting, purposeful, and meaningful. Now, as you know, app stores are filled with hundreds of thousands of applications. And the internet is a sea of websites, .org websites, and other top-level domains. And the question is, where do I get the orientation? How do I actually know what is good? What is it actually where I can say for myself, as you are each of you sitting in this room, where you can say, this is it actually which I should follow, which could be my model, which I could learn from, which I could extend, where I could social franchise, give credit to somebody else, but implement it into my own community. Everybody here on this stage is correct to be on the stage. Mint is correct to be a partner of the Manthan Award because there is no other mechanism around where you can get this kind of orientation of what is good. And when Osama talks about the determination of World Summit Award, that the jurying process has to be transparent, objective, give best available expert views, be impartial, not corrupted by anybody from sponsor to friends. The very reason is that the commitment must be to you that we are trying our best on the jury to find out what is actually a good example to stand out, to get onto the stage, and to learn from. We have nothing to share of value with each other if not for our willingness to share in learning. The technology development is so fast. It is scary not just for people who have retired from the Department of Information and Technology or from other places. It's not just scary for people who are in rural and see that this development is overtaking their capacity. It's scary for many other people around, and the only way we can deal with it is by creating communities. When UNESCO moves from having an information society division to a knowledge society division, they recognize that what you have to have is communities of knowledge in order to carry forward and to get a handle on the benefits of the technology. 10 years of Manthan is no achievement, but it is an achievement to grow a community of interest and people in sharing the determination to use the technology not just for profit, not just for entertainment, not just for actually a quick search, but for something which is sustainable in terms of altering the society towards the benefits of people. Many people look around the world on the rivalry between India and China, and people talk about the demographic dividend. You know it from your own politicians and from other people. It's ill-conceived to talk about it like that, because you will create new generations of young people who are unemployed. If you are not also having a digital dividend, where you are actually understand that digital is a mindset and not a technology. It's a mindset of transparency and interconnectedness. It's a mindset that you want to work together instead of creating wars and prejudices against each other. It's a mindset where you want to give equal rights and equal opportunities to women as well as to people who live on rural sites, to men from lower castes as well as to young people who are just growing up. This digital mindset is not a fantasy, but it is a leveraging of the opportunities which technology has given us. No age before had the opportunity, as was said before, where a chap who sits in Toronto, Canada, in his 40s, can interconnect with the students in Kerala and sponsor him or her for their studies. That is something which is possible. Our solidarity is not limited anymore to the person we see and touch and feel, but it can be addressing issues like the victims of the typhoon in the Philippines, or the people who are facing structural violence and sexual prejudice in countries around this place in this subcontinent. World Summit Award is not an idea, but it is a practice of engaging in creating transparency about what is quality in terms of the use of technology, and delivers value to people on the basis of depth of content. I'm proud to be here today to share with you, engage with you, talk with you, and learn from you in this process. 10 years of Manthan Award is not an achievement. 10 years of growing a community is. Thank you very much.